Are you thinking about moving to Colorado and just can't pinpoint exactly where you want to move? Well, that's exactly what this video is for. Let's get started. All right, Christy Lee here, and I am a local real estate agent and native of Colorado. If you are new to my channel, all of my videos are going to be catered to favorite places to move, favorite places to take your kids, restaurants, breweries, and just things like that. So if that's something that interests you, please click subscribe right there. That way you do get notified every time I have a new video. All right, so I get asked a lot, where's a good place to live in Colorado? Well, I mean, that's really hard to just answer because every single person is going to be different and is going to be needing a little bit something different as far as their lifestyle is concerned, right? So I've created a list of my top 5 places that I think throughout Colorado that I think are going to be best to move to here in 2021. And I'm going to go from number 5 down to number 1. So please stay tuned to the last one because that one by far is going to be my most favorite. All right, starting at number 5 is going to be Colorado Springs. So Colorado Springs, I personally have lived there, so I do have some experience with moving and living down in the area. Colorado Springs is going to be about an hour, hour and a half south of Denver. And it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is affordable, a lot more affordable than Denver. The average home price in Colorado Springs right now in 2021 is going to be mid 500s, and the average rent is going to be about $1,400. So I am looking at my notes here as well because every single city is going to be a little bit different, and they obviously do change. So right now, that is going to be considerably less than if you were to live in Denver. What's great about Colorado Springs is just, you know, it's definitely wide open. You have a lot more views. It's gorgeous out there. So if you're somebody who likes the outdoors, you like to hunt, to fish, Colorado Springs is going to be ideal. You have Garden of the Gods out there. You have Manitou Springs if you like little small town shopping area. That's going to be right up the hill. Then you head up into Woodland Park and 9 Mile River. So, you know, those places are going to be key if you're somebody who likes the outdoors. The Incline is down there. So if you've never heard of the Incline, definitely Google the Incline. It's pretty intense. It's an old cog rail that they reverted into kind of like a hiking thing, but you hike all the way up. It's a mile straight up and then it's about 3 miles down. It's pretty intense, and a lot of the military down there use it as a workout. Speaking of military though, I will say it is definitely a military town. So you're gonna have the Air Force Academy down there, you have Fort Carson down there. So overall, that city is gonna be, because of this, going to be a little bit more conservative, and a lot of people have always compared, it's the complete opposite of Boulder. So when you're thinking about Colorado Springs, it's very conservative, you have military, then obviously you have Boulder, which is completely liberal, the complete opposite. So know that before moving down there. If that's something that fits your lifestyle, head down to Colorado Springs. You're gonna get a bigger house most likely for less expensive, especially if you like the outdoors. Colorado Springs is gonna be the way to go. All right, number 4 on my list is Longmont, Colorado. Now, what's funny about Longmont, Colorado, as me being a native, is I honestly never thought 2 thoughts about Longmont my entire life of growing up. I grew up in Arvada. When I considered Longmont, it was just something that you never really went to. You never went there. It was just kind of like a farmer's town up north that you never really went through. That has definitely changed over the years, and Longmont is actually becoming more and more popular. Longmont is going to be just north of Denver and then just south of Loveland, okay? And then it's only about 20-25 minutes from Boulder. So it is in Boulder County, which is great. It's in the St. Vrain school districts, and you're also going to be in the Boulder Valley school districts too. So if you're looking for good schools for your kids, Longmont is going to be the way to go. If you're working in Boulder, definitely might want to consider living in Longmont, only because it's going to be considerably cheaper to live in Longmont than it is in Boulder, but you're still going to be super close. Great thing about Longmont is the price of house right now in 2021, of course, is going to be the mid 500s, which is considerably less than Boulder, obviously, and Denver. So you do get a great house. If you like the outdoors, you're going to be still really close to the outdoors, especially if you like going up to Estes Park and Rocky Mountain National Park. You're only about 45 minutes away from those areas. So it's just a great location to that. The rent out there is going to be about $1,500 a month. So it is going to be about average of Colorado prices for rent. But you are going to get, a lot more house out there for less money. There are a lot of things to do out there. There's a lot of trails. There's a few, lakes and ponds out there that people like to go fishing on. There's quite a few golf courses out there. So it is a place that definitely look into. One thing I will say about Longmont though is that because it is growing, you still have the older side of Longmont. So when you're driving through, you are going to see a distinct difference between the old and the new. And so some people get a little bit like, what is this? Because especially if they're driving through the older side of Longmont. Me even personally, I'm like, I want to stay on the newer side. There's nothing wrong with the older side, but if you're looking for the newer houses, the newer shops and newer shopping centers, definitely it's going to be more on the western side of Longmont. The eastern side, closer to I-25, is going to be a little bit more rundown, a little bit, it just needs a little help in my opinion. But overall, Longmont is going to be a great value, especially if you work in Boulder. Definitely highly consider Longmont. All right, next up is number 3 is Fort Collins. So Fort Collins is one of my personal favorite cities. What's great about Fort Collins is you still get that college town feel without the overall expensive price. So if you like being around the college students, or if you want an investment property and don't want to pay the Boulder prices, because that's obviously a Boulder town or a college town as well, head up to Fort Collins. You have Colorado State University out there. It's a really, really cool city out there. It's still very outdoorsy, so you could definitely get up to the mountains if you like to hunt and fish and stuff like that. You could still get there very quickly if you live in Fort Collins. There's Red Feathers that are just going to be really close out there. So it's just going to be more north, of course. But Fort Collins as a whole is going to be a little bit more chill, a little bit more laid back than maybe Boulder, definitely than Denver for sure. So if that's more of the feel of the vibe you're looking for, head to Fort Collins. It's going to be about an hour and a half north of Denver. So if you're if you're working in Denver, I probably wouldn't move to Fort Collins. But if you're working in Greeley, even Loveland, you could definitely live in Fort Collins, and the commute wouldn't be very bad. It would only be about 30 minutes or so. So it would definitely be something to look into. The average price in Fort Collins for a house is going to be high 400s, and the average rent is going to be about $1,500 a month. So, the same as Longmont. Cool thing, in my opinion, about Fort Collins is that if you're into microbrews and the breweries, Fort Collins is the hub. So you go up to Fort Collins and you could, I think there's like 20 of them out there. So you could spend an entire weekend out there and have a great time. Fort Collins is known for their festivals. They have the main street that they, shut down for their festivals and things like that. Left Hand Brewery, no, Left Hand's not up there, but Odell's, I believe. Now I'm just blanking it. I apologize. But there's a bunch out there that we love going out to. So definitely Fort Collins, if you're more into the chill vibe, you get a little bit more for your money. Definitely more of a college town, so keep that in mind before moving there. You are going to have the college students during the school year. But if you're thinking of investing in a property, if you have kiddos who are going to be going to school, going to college, you want to get an investment property, not pay rent, Fort Collins is going to be a great place to look into that as well. It's beautiful out there, a lot of trails, a lot of parks. So, you know, just something to consider if you're wanting to be a little bit farther outside of the city, but still have more of a population that's not so secluded. Fort Collins is the way to go. Right, next on the list, and number 4 is going to be Littleton, Colorado. So Littleton is going to be about southwest of Denver, about 25 minutes southwest of Denver. I personally have lived in Littleton as well, and it was by far one of my most favorite places I've lived. The reason I loved it so much is that, you know, it's still growing. I mean, it's an older city, but it's still growing. There's a lot going on down there, and they're constantly revamping it. So there's a lot of things going on down there, a lot of really pretty lush trees that I really love down there. The bike paths are incredible, but one of the biggest things I loved about it is the proximity to the mountains. So you are going to be really, really close to Red Rocks, Morrison, Evergreen, and then obviously I-70 is going to take you up to the mountains. So if you are a big, you know, skier, snowboarder, if you camper, anything like that, Littleton is going to be a great place for you to move, just because you are so close to I-70. And so it's not going to take you any time to get out there. The average house price out there is going to be the low 600s, and the average rent is going to be $1,700 a month. So it is going to be a little bit higher for rent and for home prices. However, the proximity to the mountains is going to be key. So if you are somebody who loves the outdoors, you love getting out there, on the weekly, going out to the mountains, Littleton is going to be a place to go. There's a lot of shopping down there. You're about 25 minutes to Park Meadows Mall, which is considered, I think that's more Highlands Ranch, but you're still very close to that. Littleton still does have their own mall too, but there's a downtown part of Littleton, which is really cool. You have the melting pot, things like that. So it's just a really, really great location. It's in kind of like its own little nook back there in the southwest corner of the Denver suburbs, but definitely highly check that out. All right, last but not least is my number 1 favorite places and highly recommend places to move is Broomfield, Colorado. Now, obviously there's a lot of places in Colorado that I still highly recommend, but Broomfield, I think, is gonna offer you a lot of things that, you know, a lot of other areas may not. Broomfield is going to be about northwest of Denver, about 25 minutes or so. But the great thing about Broomfield, in my opinion, is that its proximity between Denver and Boulder. So Boulder is only going to be about 20 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on where you're at in Broomfield. So if you still want that Boulder vibe, then Broomfield's going to be the way to go, only because it's going to cost you a lot less money. And that's what I used to always tell my renters when I was in property management, because they would want to move to Boulder, but the prices in Boulder are just insane. And if you just went out just a couple miles into Broomfield, you're going to get a lot more for your money and still be able to head into Boulder anytime you want. So the median prices for Broomfield is going to be mid 500s for a house, and then the rentals is going to be about $1,600 a month. So it is going to be a little bit more affordable for sure than even Littleton, for that matter. I love the proximity to the mountains too, because you could just hop on I-70 or 36 to 70. You could get on Highway 95. You could be into the mountains in no time, like 30 minutes. You could get into Blackhawk. So if you're into gambling, you get out to Red Rocks in about 30 minutes as well. And then again, obviously get into Boulder. So if you're somebody who loves outdoors, you like to hike, you like to bike, there's paths all over the place that'll get you both into Boulder and into Denver. What's also great about Broomfield, is that it's kind of in the middle of a few really cool other cities. So you're gonna have Louisville and Lafayette right there too. So if you're really into kind of like the small town vibe, and you like to go out to eat, and you like to, visit, the cool little breweries or whatever that might be, Old Town Louisville is within minutes, like a quick Uber ride. That'll get you into there. There's really cool places to hang out if you like to do that kind of stuff, and same with Lafayette. So those are two happening, really cool little towns that if you live in Broomfield, you could still get there in no time. So I would just say in the shopping's great too. You know, you have the Flatirons Mall is going to be right there in Broomfield. You have, you know, there's, you know, the Orchards is going to be really close to it. I think the Orchards might be still considered Westminster, but it's butts up to get together. So, I mean, it's one and the same in my world. So that's something to think about as well. So that's it. That's my list of my 5 top places to live in Colorado. Again, I am a local real estate agent in Colorado. I am a native, so I do know all of the areas very, very well. These are just my favorite ones. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I am the one that answers those phone calls, those text messages, and those emails. Remember to please click subscribe right there. Click that bell so you do get notified every time you see a new video come in. And to the next video, take care.